Video game consoles, the magical little boxes of pixely joy, soon to be outdone by the specs and power of just smaller, more portable PCs. I mean, have you seen the Series X? Sure, while the better processors, higher graphics, and sleek designs are cool, my favorite consoles tend to be the ones with the more crazy designs that weren't really afraid to step outside of their comfort zone, especially when gaming was still finding its footing. I mean, really, why play the world's heaviest briefcase when you can instead play in a non-rectangular prism that people in the 1800s would probably burn at the stake? It has a handle! The Nintendo Gamecube, what I believe to be the best, or at least most ambitious console that Nintendo has put at least 10 Mario games on. This thing just felt like such a huge jump graphically from the Nintendo 64. I mean, yeah, the Nintendo 64 was revolutionary and all, but going from graphical limitations that remind me of the shapes I learned in my kindergarten classrooms to this? It just seems crazy to me. But while the Cube in all its glory was just a more powerful 64, less powerful Wii, there's plenty about this console that, at least in my opinion, cements it as one of the best in gaming history. Now, in terms of what it did new compared to the other systems at the time, there isn't much. Nintendo finally decided to move over to disc games after the disaster of the 64's cartridge capabilities. And they did take an interesting approach to portability. But those analog triggers are what sells it here. It was such a new, unique idea at the time, people starting to have to ask themselves the question, you mean I can spray water in place and while moving? What the fuck? Not only that, but the entire controller design was just done so right. Aside from looking like one of those baby toy controllers you get from Walmart, this thing is actually surprisingly comfortable. Enough so to keep Nintendo re-releasing it for the Wii a gen later. And then re-releasing it for the Wii U. Oh, and then re-releasing it for the Switch. At this point, they should just package it in with their consoles. It's got everything. The strong grippable handles, the lack of a third handle, the clickiness of the buttons, the big button placement arranging them by size based on importance. What, you don't rank your buttons? Who doesn't rank their buttons? All in all, the controllers were great, but I hear what you're asking. Where's the Luigi's Mansion? The GameCube library is one of Nintendo's most impressive in my opinion. Just as many hits as all the other consoles, but with so many series making the leap to 3D and new ambitious IPs altogether, you'd expect many more of them to fail hard. Just look at some of the amazing games we got out of this thing. Mario Sunshine, Metroid Prime, Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door, Double Dash, The Wind Waker, Pikmin, Animal Crossing, Melee. I could go on for years. Honestly, my favorite games in so many of these series came out of the GameCube. And while, sure, that's probably clouded by some kind of nostalgia vision, you have to admit that Mario Strikers was a good idea. Holy shit, it's Shark Tale! Okay, a little unrelated, but I used to get so much entertainment out of those old THQ licensed games. Yeah, I'm sorry if this makes my opinion irrelevant. Nicktoons Unite, SpongeBob the movie The Game, The Fairly Odd Parents, it all brings back those sweet memories of... who? Oh, and... what? I don't know why SpongeBob is talking to Danny Phantom, but I don't care, it's great. Of course, every beautiful six-sided purple fun machine has its drawbacks. Even though they finally started using discs like I mentioned before, they still couldn't get it right. The small disc size was done to cut costs and avoid piracy, which admittedly was a smart idea until you realize modern emulation exists! Okay, but back in 2002, such things weren't as common, which is all well and good, right? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Battle Nexus took 2 discs to play. Yeah, a lot of games ended up needing an install disc as well as the game disc because of the lack of space on the smaller CDs. While this wasn't usually more than a slight inconvenience, it could have been completely avoided if Nintendo just opted to use bigger discs like everybody else. Speaking of everyone else, the GameCube also couldn't even play DVDs, a function that was starting to become standard with things like the PlayStation 2. So overall, when comparing it to other consoles at the time, the GameCube really did stand out, and I've actually made the proactive decision of using my Nintendo GameCube as a carrying case for one GameCube game to show people how much I like the GameCube. Why does it have a handle?